Good morning. My name is Daniel. Welcome to Orchard Park Secondary School, the FRC Team 2056. If you would have any questions throughout the day, feel free to ask me. I will answer them to the best of my abilities. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Enzo Ciardelli, and presenting Teacher Gifted Students Math.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. For this presentation, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my role in the school board, and then I brought a bunch of things that will kind of make sense as I speak. And so I'm only going to talk for about maybe 15 minutes unless people have questions. And then the rest of the presentation is interactive where you can look at some of the things that I brought from my classroom. So in the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board, I'm one of 3 gifted educators. So we'll talk about what that means in a minute. But to give you a little bit of background on where I've come from. So I've worked with the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board for 22 years. And I know you're looking at me and thinking, he's not that old, but yes, 22 years I've worked for the school board. I was a regular classroom teacher. I've taught all grades from grade 3 to 8. So I am an elementary school teacher. I've never taught high school. I've taught basically all over the map in Hamilton. So I've taught in Stony Creek. I've taught in Waterdown. I've taught in West Hamilton Mountain. That's where I spent most of my time. And I started teaching actually in downtown Hamilton as my first assignment. Currently, I am one of 3 special assignment teachers for the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board, and I primarily work with gifted students. Does anybody know what qualifies as a gifted student? Okay. No? Any ideas? They're extraordinary in certain ways. So in grade 4, all students on our board are screened for giftedness. So these are students with exceptionally high gifts in certain areas. So basically, to make it kind of simple, it's like high IQ, right? So I took the definition of gifted students, and this is from the Association of Bright Children of Ontario, because I kind of want to stick to what's said instead of me just making it up, right? So yeah, a gifted student, according to the Association of Bright Children of Ontario, is asynchronous development characterized by measurable advanced intellectual abilities, accompanied by any or a combination of the following. And then there's a list. It's heightened intensity, exceptional creativity, persistent intellectual curiosity, rapid acquisition and mastery of concepts, superior reasoning, and problem-solving skills. I pretty much think I have the coolest job in teaching because currently, since we're at the start of the school year, I go to different kids and I say, okay, what do you like to learn about? So just the other week, I was in Ancaster, and a student said, I want to learn chemistry. And he said, but it's grade 10. You don't learn chemistry till grade 10. And I said, it's there. You can learn it. So that's where this came from here. So I had to pick up resources to kind of get students engaged, students who are gifted. So I'm able to actually go around, create workshops based on student interest. I am allowed to stray outside of the curriculum a little bit and talk a little bit more about that. But I brought this here because that's what he requested. So I'm currently making a workshop based on what one student wanted. Okay. Now, some people say to me oh, well, you teach all the smart kids, and it sounds easy. They're all smart, right? And it's not as easy as it sounds. So here's some other. They require certain intervention. So this is again from the Association of Bright Children of Ontario. So they need optimal pacing of learning. Some of the students who are in school, they because they learn things so quickly, they're very quick to get bored. They'll say bored. I don't allow them to use the word, and they need engagement in other ways, right? So they don't really like repetition. Gifted students don't like repetition because in their mind, it's like, okay, I know what you're talking about. Whereas other students in the class, like even me, when I was in school, and maybe you can answer this for yourself, did you really understand things the first time it was taught? Probably not, right? And sometimes gifted students need repetition too, but usually in areas that they're very strong in, they don't require as much repetition, and then they start to think, okay, I could be doing something else, right? They benefit from interaction with ability peers, and I'll talk more about that. Individualized learning experiences, and that's the example I gave you with the chemistry. The kid wants to learn chemistry. There's no reason why he shouldn't learn it. So he'll do his schoolwork. That's part of the curriculum. And if he wants to learn chemistry, he learns chemistry, right? And of course, we have to think about the age of, I can't just teach chemistry at a grade 10 level. These kids are kids. So I have to be able to take chemistry in a way that he can understand it at the age he's at and what he's ready for. Okay? They like increased breadth and depth. I could think of some students who are more more gifted in areas of reading. Gifted students are not always just globally gifted in everything. I have some students that are very strong readers, but then their math, if you ask them, they're like, well, I'm okay at math. So there's the assessment basically assesses their thinking skills and how they sort of see things and their reasoning. It does, we have to kind of tell gifted students, what does it mean to be gifted? And no, it doesn't mean that every subject that you do, you're going to be able to ace it just because you're gifted or you tested gifted, right? They do need specialized support and a continual opportunity for challenge and advancement. And I have to throw in as well that they are kids. So these kids are going through, I can remember myself at middle school about some of the challenges that are faced as you remember better than me, this is probably lots more recent. Some of the social challenges of going through middle school as a gifted student, trying to understand what it means to be gifted. It's not as easy as it sounds. They require intervention. They usually require quite a bit of talking to, and they need a lot of relationships, both with adults and then within the classroom. So that's kind of what a gifted student is. Now, before I kind of go on and talk about what I do for programming and show you a picture of how my classroom looks like, does anybody have any questions about gifted students? No? You just feel free. If you put your hand up, ask anything. No? Are we good? No? Okay.
So at the start of their elementary year, you put them to do a test at the test for
It's not okay. It happens in grade 4, so it's not at the start. Usually, students start the students don't always show giftedness, right? Some do, some don't. So very often, the screening testing is in grade 4. And then, so everybody gets screened. And then once they see the results, then they start looking at the certain kids based on the screening and they do another test, right? And that's what determines the giftedness, right? So that's kind of how it works. Different boards have different ways of looking at giftedness, but there's gifted programs throughout Ontario. Any other questions? Yes?
I'm also saying that the gifted student is not necessarily at best at every other aspect. They might need help or support in other things too.
Right. Yes, they need support in other things. And I usually kind of think about it in my own simple way is that I have students that are very strong in math. I have a science and math background. So if I have a gifted student that's into science and math, okay, I know what to do. It's fun to talk to, right? But then I have to kind of think about other. So today, during my presentation, every I present, I try to make it a little bit different because I presented here before. I actually brought things that have very little, that actually show that some students are gifted in terms of facts or into research. I know students that are they're probably better readers than me. They can read and absorb information, understand things in different ways than I could at their age or even than I could today. So that there's kind of but some of those students they're not very good writers, or they're good at math, but then they're not they have difficulty writing sentences, or they're good in language and they're strong readers, and you ask them, okay, how's math class? Oh, it's okay. And they do have they're not like superheroes. There's certain things that they're gifted in. Usually they could still do well in math, but maybe not enjoy it. And they have heightened interest in areas that are unique to them. Yes?
Do they all have separate classes? Is that math class with everybody else?
They're with everybody else, yeah. So that's where I come in. So when a student is in grade 5, I would go to their school and I work with the student in grade 5 because they're too young to come to my classroom. When the student's in grade 6, 7, and 8, they get brought from wherever school they're at. So my schools are mostly West Mountain, Waterdown, and they get brought to my classroom. And I'll show you a picture of my classroom, and then I do the programming there as a group. But even sometimes that's not easy because different kids have different interests, and you have to tell them like, okay, so if I have a room of people here, now I imagine you're mostly math science types, if you're at a robotics thing, yeah. But I have to tell the kids that are more language that it's like, okay, you have to be able to do everything. How do you pick a topic for a room, not just gifted, but for 15 people and please everybody? It's like picking a movie on Netflix, right? You can't please everyone. So I have to tell them, do what we're doing. So when I do a workshop, I think, okay, what would work for math and science, which admittingly for me, it's easier to plan. But then what works for a student who's more artistic in terms of their gifts, right? So I have to tell them, do what we're doing as a class, and then you'll have time to do what you want. And I'll show you what that kind of looks like. Any more questions? Like it's such an amazing thing. I'm so happy in this job. I can't express it because like I meet so many kids. I mean, I have 30 schools, so it's quite a bit of travel. But I can't imagine myself doing anything else in teaching. I feel like I've hit the jackpot with this job. Like it's so much fun, right? So these are some of the workshops that I plan. Now, one of them is right up my alley. One of them is not, right? So, microbit, right? So I planned a session for microbit, and I probably pulled it off in about an hour, getting it all set up. And because I have a science kind of programming background, my involvement with 2056 is minimal. But when 10 years ago I was as an elementary teacher, I had mostly a science background, but I was paired up with the team to try to see how robotics work in elementary. So there's a group of teachers that were, and that's really all my involvement with 2056. And the team has been very generous in trying to see how robotics works. So I was part of a robotics PD team. This is before I took on Gifted. And so planning a session about the STEM areas is easy, but then like this one here is the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is the UN has developed 17 goals for sustainable development in the world, and so I have to kind of plan a workshop for the class that for people who are more of a language social studies interest, because not everybody likes math and science. I know, eh? So it's in the classroom. So this is my classroom here, right? It's only half the room, but I get about 15 kids who are in grade 6, 7, and 8. You can see there, like there's, I like flowers, why not? Oh, there's some scratch cards. I left them on there and then I took the picture. But there's different things in the room. So there's like a musical keyboard and a guitar, because it's not just gifted people, but like people have so many different interests, right? So anybody who comes in the room, there's discovery time where I'm not teaching really, but I put out all the things that people would want to use, and they're gifted in different areas. There's Lego. Kids, they love Lego. They're kids. We have to keep that in mind. Yes, they're gifted, but they're kids, right? This one's a surprise. So this just came in on Friday, right? And you know how you get like an Amazon package, and you think it's like a gift, like a present. You open it up. That's why people spend so much money on Amazon, right? You're always opening up a gift. There's a surprise in here, but it's the paint. One of it's the paint easel stand, right? So there's an individual paint easel stand. So you can see I have to try to program not just for the areas of interest I have. I have to go around and gather people's interests. So a kid one time said, "Oh, I want to learn about Greek mythology." Cool. I have to find a way to do it, right? So when the kids come, there's the discovery time, and then there's a time when we're together as a group where they have to understand, okay, you got to do what we want to do, knowing that you're always going to have time to do what you want to do. Because kids and gifted kids, all kids need to learn that, right? You don't always get to do what you want, but you have to learn different things. True? Yeah. So there's the MBOT. The MBOT's right there. There's the snap circuits. And then the other thing and this was actually, sometimes kids tell me things that they want, and I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. There's a spirograph. So in here, right, you're going to be the first to actually use it, because I haven't actually shown this to kids. It's one kid requested like a spirograph, and I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea, right? So I have money at the beginning of the year to try to purchase certain things. And so I purchased the spirograph, and then, I don't know what that is. Well, spirograph again. And then this is like a individual paint stand. So we can kind of, like, if you're staying with me in this room and you want to kind of look at the different things, we can definitely look at it. I don't think we can paint anything, but we can definitely use a spirograph, right? So that's basically how it works. So the 6, 7s, and 8s come to me, and then the discovery time is when they get to pick something, hopefully find something in the room that's of interest to them. And then the lesson that we do together, usually I do a math area, a science area, and then maybe do a social studies and a language. Each group I meet with about 5 or 6 times throughout the school year. And then when I'm not with a group inside this classroom, I'm going to different schools. So on Monday, for example, I'm working with grade 5 students in Waterdown. I've got a ground school. So it's a great job for people who like when I'm at different schools. So it's like, okay, I've taught a lot for 22 years. I'm happy going to different schools, but sometimes when you do that, it's harder. I was telling Daniel before the presentation, I can't really do a robotics team because I have 30 schools. Where am I going to do it? So sometimes you have to, like, even like, how many of you, like, if you want to become a teacher, you even want to coach basketball. I can't do that because I'm at 30 schools. So you have to it's a bit of a trade-off of belonging within the community of a school and then trying to find a way to get to kids who you don't see very often. Because I have about probably about 250 kids that are on my list that I have to go out and visit, talk to, and bring them to the Innovation Center if they're a certain age. So, but that's fine. That's great. I enjoy that part of the job, but it's challenging. But I mean, when I was working in the classroom, it's rewarding and challenging at the same time, just like any other teaching job. But I love it. Like it's a lot of fun to be able to do these things with kids. I've worked with gifted kids pretty much my whole career in a way. Like even when I was in university, I was going to McMaster, and I went to the school called Coots Paradise now. Westdale? No? Pardon? It feeds into Dalewood. Yeah. So it's Georgia Allen School. That's what it was called at the time, but it changed to Coots Paradise, right? So I walked in there as just a university student, and this is how things kind of work in terms of you think of how things happen in your life. The principal was there, and he said, "Well, we have like a gifted class. Like the kids were gifted all in the class." And he said, "Do you mind going in there? It's not always easy." And at that age, I'm like, "Sure." So that's kind of how it started. So I volunteered in a class that was gifted education, and I as a learning resource teacher as a regular learning resource teacher in elementary schools, I always found a way for gifted students within the school, and it kind of snowballed. And then when I applied for this job, it's just a nice fit, and I couldn't be happier that I got the job. So that's my role. Now, if are there any questions about the program? I know it's what kind of information overload for 10 minutes. No, you think it's a pretty cool job?
Yeah.
You're just saying next I'm here. Yeah, it's amazing. It's so different, and I think sometimes teachers get this later in their career because maybe because of experience or whatever. But it's a lot of fun. So I did bring things that are in the classroom, and I just took a lot of them and I brought them here. It took about 3 trips to my car, but that's okay. Some of it might be up and running. Some things are not cooperating because they're not ready. So for programming, I use mostly microbits, and there's a whole box of them there. That's what I use with the kids. There's an extra laptop here if people want to do programming. I have my laptop because once I'm done talking, there's really nothing to go up there. If people want to program with microbits, I had to do a little bit of research. These are little robots that work with microbits because the challenge in teaching coding and robotics is if I see kids for a short amount of time, I don't know their background in coding, right? So I have to find a way to teach kids who have no background in coding, but they want to learn, some background in coding, or they go home and they're on it, right? So how do you teach kids to code if you're not sure how much expertise they have in it? So, I mean, I think actually, because we're probably all into robotics and coding, it's not hard to figure out, but it does actually involve a bit of expertise, right? So these little robots I got, but they're not up and running because the software that runs with it is it's not able to download on our board computers. So I'm on it, and this one as well. The MBOT, we probably need an iPad. So then there's just the snap circuits. None of this stuff kids have actually touched this school year because I haven't used it all with kids. We're so early in the year. But I have a bag of batteries, so the snap circuits will work. Definitely able to work on microbits. I wouldn't mind if someone tries a spirograph with me. There's other things too, like there's the chemistry books there. There's Tandrix, which is a game. Like sometimes there's games in the room that I don't even know how to play, and then I have to figure it out before. Yeah, Tandrix rules, right? So there's Tandrix. Even something like some of the centers for discovery are pretty easy. I mean, kids love origami, right? So there's origami here. In grade 6, if you recall, it was paper airplanes and flight. You have to learn about the flight and the forces of flight. And there's a book there on origami. The scratch cards, it starts out with, I usually start out with block coding for the microbits. And even if a kid's coming in for the first time, has never coded before, I start with the block, and I actually do get them going on Python within the session for coding. It is possible. It's just a matter of finding different streams. Like I basically tell the kids, if you're new to coding, there's different levels that you can try. Like there's the basic, which you can start out, you might learn it quite quickly. And then there's like an intermediate, and then there's a middle ground too for kids who have some experience as well. So that's basically the talking portion of my presentation. If you're very, very welcome to try some of these things with me, and I'll help you get set up with batteries and everything. If somebody, last time I presented, I think a student took a microbit, and he did something really cool on it that I was able to show my kids after. Definitely you can open up the spirographs. You can build on the snap circuits, like the MBOT and those little microbit robots. I'm still the MBOT, I just don't have an iPad. Those microbit robots, I don't have the right software to run them. But I just wanted to show that you could take a microbit and make it run. Like we don't have the time in the class to actually go through the whole process of building a robot because the kids are only there one day, and then it's another group, right? So that's basically how the gifted program works for me, and that's it. The last thing I could say, unless people have questions, that it's a totally an amazing job. It's lots of fun for me too. Yeah. So any questions before people want to dive in? No? Okay, so if you want to try some of these things, I'll be here. If you decide that, if you want to stay for a bit, then go check out what else is going on. I'm not insulted if people decide, okay, I've been here, I've seen what I wanted to, and I want to go check out other presentations. Don't worry about hurting my feelings, I get it. If you want to hang out part of the time, if you want to just kind of bolt as soon as I say thank you, and then just go see something else, that's fine. It's all good. But thank you for listening. But I will give you one last opportunity if people have questions about the programming, about gifted education. Quiet audience, Saturday morning. Okay, so with that, Daniel, you have a question?
Yeah. Do you have any gifted students that are really interested in like music things?
Yeah. So in the classroom, there is actually, now in honesty, I can't play an instrument at all, like nothing, right? But there's musical keyboards and there is a guitar. So when I first started, I thought, okay, the kid comes in and they want to learn a musical keyboard or a guitar. I'm about the last person that should be teaching someone how to play a keyboard or a guitar, but I don't have to teach it because if a student comes in with that keen interest, it's there for them to use, right? There's other things in the room, like to give you an idea, like sometimes I have to learn how to do things. So in the room as well, there's crochet and knitting, right? Anybody crochet? Crochet is easier. Actually, I think people usually learn to crochet before they knit, right? You sound like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I was in the gifted program.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to talk about your experience doing it.
I mean, well, I was a little bit quiet kid, so I wasn't very keen on very much things. But I remember using the keyboard a lot.
Yeah. Did you go to Dalewood then, or to Hillcrest?
I don't know. I had my teachers were Shaver.
Yeah, you went to Hillcrest. Yeah, yeah. So then you're taught what I'm talking about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I could tell you the teacher there. I don't want to say he's like me, but I know he can't knit. But it doesn't matter, right? So the opportunities for the kids to do it. So sometimes I have to get things like crochet needles. So that's fine, right? And sometimes the kids, like I'm the type of person that if they want to crochet, If they want to show me how to do it, sure, I'll learn to crochet, right? So when you went there, what did you like to do?
I actually did like the finger thing they taught, like to how to like knit with their fingers. A lot of people were doing that, and I remember playing the piano.
Right. Yeah. So people have different. Yeah, you have to get the kids have different things that they're interested in, different strengths, right? And sometimes we have to tell these kids that like no, you're gifted, but you're still going to have things that you're really good at. And you're going to have things that maybe you're not good at, right? Yes.
It's like if a kid is gifted in one area, but then have an interest in a different area, what do you do about that?
Well, first, like we have to remember, like when the testing is happening, it's really testing thinking skills. It's not testing whether a kid's good at math, right? So it's testing the way it's testing reasoning, it's testing thinking, it's testing the way they approach different patterns. It's like a lot of pattern testing, and I should have brought it like a sample question. So they're gifted, but it's more a matter of what their interests are. Right. So, like, I think I answered part of your question. What else did you say?
That was just it.
Yeah. So usually gifted kids, like they can do everything, but it's like interests. But it's like a person who's not gifted. I mean, like you can learn to do anything, but it's according to where your interests are. So like there is a perception that gifted students can do everything. They can't. Right. So there's gifted students who can't play a piano. Right. So part of what we do in our program is trying to teach gifted students, yes, you're gifted. This is what it means. And so they have to, because they have to learn to live as a gifted student. And it's in some respects, they have an advantage. In some respects, they don't. That they have to learn to live with what they're good at and what they can't do. Yes?
What is the average IQ level of a gifted student?
The average?
IQ level.
Well, okay, that's beyond my knowledge at the moment because after they do the gifted screening, there's a person who's like he's an educational psychologist. They do the testing for the gifted, right? And then I get the name. I don't necessarily get the number, but and different boards have different percentiles. So a gifted student, depending where they are in Ontario, could be anything from the 95th percentile to the 99th percentile, right? Or even higher than 99th percentile, which is very rare. Okay, so it's not, and sometimes we have to tell these students, it's like, there's other smart people in the class, and they're going to be successful, right? Because somebody can be gifted. Are they necessarily going to be successful in life? Maybe, right? They still got to learn. They still got to learn how to survive in the world. They have to be employable. They have to learn certain transferable skills, right? So being gifted is definitely, it's an advantage in a way, but it's also, it doesn't, all kids, gifted or not, have to learn how to be successful in life. Yes?
What challenges do you think that gifted kids experience the most?
Pardon me?
What challenges do you think that gifted kids experience the most?
In my opinion, the challenges that they face is mostly just this. It's almost the same as any student goal. It's more social. And if we think about the middle school years and the high school years, those aren't easy adjustments for people to make. And I think that's where they're more, that's probably where they're more challenged on how to be accepted, how to live with who they are, how to recognize who they are. So it's the same challenges that everybody faces, because I can remember myself in middle school and probably yourselves, even in high school, that there's a lot of uncertainty. And these kids, they're kids too, and they probably experience the same thing. So some of the times we're working with gifted students is telling them about, is understanding what what's going on around them, right? Because they need to understand it as well. So they face similar challenges as regular kids, and I think that's the hardest thing for them to understand, and for them to understand what it means to be gifted. It's not like they can be successful in life, but they have to learn to be successful just like everybody else. Yes?
Is it possible to have students do the test in grade 4? What happens students become gifted as you grow older?
Well, again, that the testing part of it is beyond my, like, there's someone who knows, like, the test that they give it's heavily researched, it's field tested. So the people who've come up with these tests, or the people who do the testing, like, it's a psychological field. And I'm not into, like, I'm not an educational psychologist, or I'm definitely not a psychologist. So, like, I believe in the testing that they're doing, and they know how to do the testing regardless of a person's age. So that's beyond the. If I was an educational psychologist, I could probably answer that question better, but I can't. Yes, Daniel?
So there was just an example, there was a student who was like, was a really disruptive student during the time that they were taking those tests. But then they, but then they were gifted, but they would try. Would they, would they, would there be any chance of them taking the test later, or?
No,
Protecting that?
no, but that's rare. That's rare. Like the test, like the thing I could tell you about the test, and I'm not, we shouldn't get so caught up on the test, but the test is written in a way, like if someone would say, well, what happens if a person doesn't speak English and they're doing this test? But part of the test is actually, you don't have to speak a word of English, because like, it'll be like, I remember there's one question, like, okay, you get a piece of paper, and then you fold it into fourths or eighths, and then you hole punch a pattern, and then you unfold it. How would the holes look? Right? Now you're thinking, okay, your age in high school, you're like, okay, that's not so bad. But a person in grade 4, it's challenging. So the part of the test is visual, right? So a student could be very high in nonverbal, and then but not very good in verbal. So if a student doesn't speak English as a first language, the language part they might not do well in, but then they really show it in the nonverbal, and then they get tested further. So there are ways. If a student is not in the right frame of mind to do the test, I don't think that usually happens. It's very rare, right? But if that happens, then they likely could be frustrated with the test, in which case maybe that's not where, yeah. But I mean, I have to stress that, like, we're getting a little too obsessed with the testing there, but there's kids in classes that are quite bright, very smart, not necessarily gifted, but they're successful in life because of the traits that they have. And we have to tell gifted students that being gifted is not necessarily, it doesn't equate success. You have to learn to be successful. Okay. Now, if anyone else has any more questions, I wasn't expecting this many. Oh, do you have a question? You're scratching your head? Okay. So right now, if I look at the time, I didn't, oh, wow. Okay, there's like 25 minutes. Perfect. If you want to, if you want to play with the stuff that I brought, I'm all here. I'll definitely help out as much as I can. I'll run around, but you're old enough. The batteries are back there too, and maybe you could show me a thing or two about some of the things that are here, or do something on the microbit that I never even thought of. Okay, and if you have any more questions about it, I'm definitely here for the next 25 minutes. Okay.